Call to order the, what month are we in now? September. Finance Committee. If the city clerk will please poll the members. Call the roll, whatever.
Chairperson, Councilmember Clark. Vice Chair, Mayor Pro Tem Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Scipio.
Present.
And Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
Folks, we have a very full agenda, so we will get going on it. We will start with a consent agenda. Are there any items anyone would want pulled?
I'll move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. I think we have to vote by voice.
Yeah.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are approved. We will now go to the general agenda.
Item G1, Budget and Financial Update.
Mr. Tesh, I'm going to make an opening comment.
Oh, I'm glad you are.
Get my time, yeah. No, there's been a lot in the news locally about financial responsibilities of local government organizations and what we should and should not do or should have done. Today, we're going to do a number of items that I think fall under the category of our responsibilities to steward and to control what happens within our purview. So we're going to start. Mr. Tesh is actually going to give us a year-end budget review, and it's also going to go over some of the controls that are in place to be sure that we know what's going on and ask the right questions. So, Mr. Tesh, with that, if you please do your thing.
Thank you, Chairman, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the committee. You are exactly right, Councilmember Clark. This presentation has a few different aspects to it. We do have an FY25 year-end projection for where we may end, but at a higher level, we're going to talk a little bit just about the controls that are in place, budget and financial reviews that take place, both internal and external. And under the new strategic plan that you adopted, one of the areas is good government, and a part of that is our financial stewardship. And so the city manager has asked that in the future that we begin bringing more regular quarterly updates on budget and financials. And so this is intended to set the stage and provide some public information for those that will continue to come in the future. So at a high level, a lot of what we do in budget and in finance that our chief financial officer oversees is prescribed in the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act, and you can see the statutory references there. It is a very long, nearly 40 subsection series of state law that talks about everything that we have to do with respect to budgeting, investment of idle funds, disbursement, everything basically in budget and finance. I'm going to pull out a few of those things and just excerpt them, and probably one that's most important, as Councilmember Clark, you were speaking to, we talk a lot about the expenditure reviews that take place, and a lot of times you'll hear the term pre-audit when staff talks about it. The Fiscal Control Act requires 2 pre-audits for every disbursement that goes out. One is when we obligate the funds. So if we come to you with a contract, you approve the contract, we make sure that the funding is there before the contract gets encumbered, and then we have to pre-audit it again before the check is written to make sure that the budget is still available there. So outside of that piece, there are lots of other controls, lots of other practices and processes. And again, I've got a couple of bullet points here that are just excerpts of what we do. We have a significant amount of purchasing review to make sure that we are complying with state law in purchasing. Purchasing department also does a great job of catching whether budget is available for certain items early in the process. The financial system itself has controls built into it that we often call funds check, but we are making sure that departments do not overspend their allotments. There are system procedures in place outside of regular manual processes. Position control is probably the most important of these, given in the general fund that 60 to 70% of your expenses are salaries and wages. The number of positions that we have that are authorized compared to the number of people that we are actually hiring is very important. So when we're looking at our salary savings adjustments, when we're looking at the amount of money that we budget for that, there is an allotment of positions, and there is a role both in human resources and in budget in making sure that we do not fill a position that was not authorized by the mayor and city council and the management team. And one of the other things I would hit on, and this is very important when we look at things like ARPA distributions, we have a process or a practice in place that we do not use one-time funding for multi-year issues. The ARPA money that came in that was in excess of $50 million, the framework that was adopted used all of that for one-time purposes. Again, some of that was used for community agencies. They may come back and ask for money in the future, but we did not, as an organization, commit ourselves or obligate ourselves to spending money in the future that we only received one time in nature. So there are a lot of controls in place to make sure that we don't overspend budget and that we have the available cash in place.
I was curious, will your system allow you to cut a check if there's no money budgeted for it?
So the answer to that question is yes, but it would take authorizations to do it.
Okay.
So the funds check that I talked about in the finance system will automatically discontinue that purchase, and it would come back essentially usually to budget, and they would say, there's no funds available.
Exactly.
Why not? It may be that it's in the wrong line item, it's in the wrong cost center, and then if it was not available, I'd have to go to the city manager, depending on the size of it.
Thank you, sir.
So again, controls in place. In talking with the city manager, a couple of things that we wanted to mention in terms of internal and external reviews. So I did want to note, we do have an internal audit division, has 3 folks in it. We have an internal audit administrator, Heather Smith, who is with us in the back. She and her staff do an amazing job looking at all of the audit engagements that we have. A couple of notes up there, most importantly, autonomous assurance and consulting internal division. That term autonomous is meant to be they have access to everything that every department does to review whether the controls are in place and that they are complying with state regulations, federal regulations, city policies. They are allowed to go almost anywhere and look at almost anything to make sure that we are in compliance with what we need to be. They do all kinds of financial audits, contract audits, different types of evaluations. They usually do somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 17 evaluations per year. But all of those are posted, and I wanted to say this, all of those are posted publicly too from a transparency perspective. You can go on the city's website and every engagement that internal audit has, the official report from that is posted on our website so that you can see what we're complying with and essentially what we're working on. The rationale for those is to get better and to improve. We obviously have the annual external audit. Dan Goggerty from Cherry Beckert came a few months ago and presented the end of year FY24 audit. That happens every single year, and it includes a single audit for all of our grants as well. And aside from those, the external ratings agencies come and do reviews of us when we issue debt. And they do a very good job turning the organization's financials inside out, looking at all of our fund balances, looking at our ability to create revenue in the future. If we're issuing debt for 20 years, they're looking at the ability of the organization to pay that debt over the 20-year horizon that we would issue it for. So there are lots of internal and external reviews of our financials. Speaking more to what budget does, kind of what we're going to come back with and talk about quarterly in the future, I'm going to talk mostly about operating funds here that happen over the course of 1 year. Obviously, the general fund is the largest operating fund that we have. I'm going to show you a general fund projection. We're going to talk about the calendar for that. We do have several enterprise funds, so when you think stormwater, water and sewer, solid waste, parking, transit, those types of things, we are reviewing those as well. And then selected special revenue funds. Our special revenue funds, some of them operate on very long-term horizons with projects. Some of them are annualized. Powell Bill is a very good example of this. We have a fund that is for the street resurfacing money or Powell Bill maintenance money that comes in that's used predominantly for resurfacing. And that one is looked at on a quarterly and annual basis because it's an annual fund.
Is utilities under enterprise funds?
It is, and we'll talk about it here on the second bullet point.
In fact, I'm going to be sure we watch them.
Sure. From a general fund perspective, the major revenue sources are looked at monthly and quarterly. Sales tax comes in every month. We are looking actively at sales tax every month. The manager gets an update essentially every month. It is 3 months behind when the state gives us that compared to when you pay it. We do have other major quarterly revenues. Our electricity sales tax is one of those. Those are quarterly distributions, so we look at them on a quarterly basis. Property tax is the single largest revenue that we have in the general fund. The bills go out in the August timeframe. They're technically due in September, but they don't accrue interest until January. So a lot of times we receive very little in terms of property taxes, particularly for real estate in the first quarter and sometimes in the first 2 quarters. So we do review that quarterly, but we really start to see whether or not we've hit those numbers in the 3rd quarter with some of the statements that come from the county tax office as well. And most recently in January, and you will start to get this at least once a year, you will see the general fund multi-year analysis. That's not something that we had been putting forward for a while, but it is a best practice from GFOA and something we will be getting back to so that you can see the difference between revenue and expenditure production over time. Councilmember Clark, you were talking about enterprise funds. We do look at those on a quarterly basis. I would note there that we have a utilities commission, and Courtney is here. They also look very heavily at that, so there are a lot of eyes on our largest enterprise funds financials as well. And we do our annual pro forma updates during budget season. You see several slides that show the expected cash balances of those funds over time. So those are updated annually to make sure that we are meeting the long-term needs of all of our enterprise funds. And again, the special revenue funds, the calendars for those are really based on when the revenues come in, when the expenditures go out, and whether they're single year or really managed at a multi-year level if they have large projects in them. So we're going to get to a projected year end for 25. Again, a little further in the details, we look at the budget to actuals. So we are looking at whether we are under or overspending in those areas or whether we are under or over collecting from a revenue perspective. We look at the expenditures in multiple different ways. We look at it by department. We look at it by type. We have been doing several outstanding encumbrance reviews. So there have been more rollover purchase orders from year to year. This is something that Budget and Finance have been looking at, and I'll show you some of that as well. All of that, again, to look at what is the potential change in net position, or what we often call the change in fund balance for the general fund unassigned fund balance. So a very quick look at 25 year end. We are still doing a lot of the year end transactions. The statements have not been completed and audited at this point. So this comes with a caveat that this is in draft format. The 3 bullet points over there are associated with the 3 things that are highlighted. The first is that total revenues exceeded budget by about 1.3%. That's a good thing. On the expenditure side, you can see that expenditures are well below the amended budget. So again, we had a lot of carryover encumbrances. What we've been seeing in a post-COVID world, there was a lot of stuff that we used to buy in April, May, and June that you could get delivered in a couple of weeks, and it would get expensed in the year that you sent out the request. We're now sending out requisitions and they take 6, 8, 12, 16 weeks. And so those expenditures are taking place in another year. And so we're having some of that carryover that we've not seen before. We are trying to limit that. And again, also some of that is related to vehicles. We have budgeted for a lot of vehicles to be replaced. The timelines for those to be delivered have also gotten a lot longer in the last couple of years. So the last thing I draw your attention to is the potential addition of about $6.5 million to unassigned fund balance in the general fund. That is a good thing on a more than $300 million budget. You're talking about 2%, and we do want to grow it every year. Our policies dictate that we do have to grow that every year so that we keep up with the organic growth in the fund itself. I will hit behind the scenes, and it is not intended for somebody to zoom in and try and look at these. Outside of the regular review, there's a business analyst that we have in budget who has been taking financial system data and building Power BI dashboards and views from that. There is a lot of what I'm just going to call regular work that takes place that doesn't generate a report to the city manager, doesn't generate a report to council, but where budget and or finance is actively reviewing the financials of the organization on a regular basis, daily or weekly in some cases, depending on what that is. So we do have a lot of other tools in place that you don't normally get to see, we don't talk about, but there is a lot of financial review that takes place to keep us in the position that we're in. That is all I have for you. I was trying to keep it to 10 or 12 minutes knowing that we have a fully loaded agenda, but I'm more than happy to take any questions that you have.
Questions or comments? I'm assuming the rules that you listed apply not just to us, but other government entities.
The Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act does apply to all cities, counties, and local authorities, yes.
Okay. I would make an editorial comment, but I'm not. Keep the peace. Okay, what's next? G2, City Clerk, please read that.
Item G2, approval of economic development assistance for Project Touchdown pursuant to NCGS 158-7.1, public hearing date September 15th, 2025.
Mr. Millett, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, Mayor Joines, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, and members of council. Project Touchdown involves a 50-year-old company that's based in the United Kingdom. They manufacture laboratory and specialty chemicals serving various industries. They've identified a strong potential market in the United States and are looking to open a facility in the Southeast. In addition to an existing 20,000 square foot building in Winston-Salem, they're considering locations in South Carolina, Georgia, and Virginia. Project Touchdown is seeking financial assistance to reduce the costs associated with the facility, which would create 30 new jobs at an average salary of $59,217. Jobs would include laboratory technicians, chemical production, administration, and sales. Taxable capital investment is expected to exceed $5.6 million over the first 5 years. Staff recommends performance-based incentives of up to $57,168, which as usual does represent 50% of the net new property taxes expected to be generated by the project. Incentives are being considered by Forsyth County as well as the state of North Carolina. If approved at committee, the public hearing will be held on September 15th at the council meeting. And we do have staff from Greater Winston-Salem present in favor of the project.
We have been briefed on this previously in closed session. Any comments, questions? Do we need to approve this?
I move for approval of item G2.
Second.
We have a motion second for item G2. If everyone will please vote when it comes up. Thank you very much. We will now go to G3. If the clerk will please read that.
Item G3, resolution authorizing a lease renewal with the state of North Carolina for property located at 226 South Liberty Street, located in South Ward.
Mr. Rao, introduce this, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, Mayor Joines, Mayor Pro Tempore Adams, members of council. In September 2022, the council approved a 3-year lease with the state of North Carolina for the second floor of the former U.S. Bankruptcy Court building at an annual lease rate of $25,000. That current lease is set to expire in February of next year. The state of North Carolina has requested a renewal of the lease under the same terms as the existing lease. So this would be another 3-year lease with the state of North Carolina at an annual rate of $25,000 per year. They've not requested any renewal period within this proposed lease. They do currently occupy a little over 5,700 square feet of the second floor of the building, and it's primarily used by the State Highway Patrol. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, sir. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion second to approve G3. If everyone please vote when it comes up. Thank you very much. That is approved. We will now go to G4. If the city clerk will please read it.
Item G4, request for a public hearing and consideration of approval of the issuance of bonds by Public Finance Authority for the benefit of PRG, The Grounds, LLC, and Wake Forest University. Public hearing date, September 15th, 2025.
Ms. Latham, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Chairman Clark, Mayor Joines, Mayor Pro Tem Adams, and members of City Council. The Grounds is seeking financing not to exceed $80 million for a capital project that will be occupied by Wake Forest University. Section 147 of the IRS Code actually requires that City Council hold a public hearing and approve this because they are asking to issue tax-exempt debt. This does not obligate the city in any way for payment. It's not a pledge of the city. It's basically just an IRS formality. We do have representatives here from the Grounds, Parker Poe, and Wake Forest if you have additional questions.
Yeah, and whoever from Wake would like to speak, please come up. Sir, if you'll please give your name and address for the record.
Yep, I'm Scott Leo. I'm with Parker, Poe, Adams, and Bernstein in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're serving as bond counsel for this financing. Again, as she said, this is just a formality to allow Provident Resources Group, PRG, which is assisting Wake Forest University in financing construction constructing this office building that's going to be used by Wake Forest University. They're seeking to take advantage of issuing tax-exempt bonds to lower the cost of that financing, which will ultimately accrue to a lower cost for Wake Forest to occupy the building. I'm joined here by Jamie Boyd with Provident Resources Group, PRG, the grounds, and Brandon Gilliland with Wake Forest University. So I think Jamie's going to tell you a little bit about Provident if you're interested in that.
Good afternoon.
You give your name and address.
Yes, Jamie Boyd. I'm General Counsel at Provident Resources Group. We are a large nonprofit corporation with projects in over 26 states. We have headquarters in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And what we do is we help educational and healthcare institutions finance their non-core projects. So rather than an academic building, an office building of this nature where Wake Forest can house departments such as its human resources, IT, and other non-core academic type departments. A little bit about us. We were organized in 1999. We've been doing projects of this nature for 25 years. We have projects at UT Knoxville, NCCU, William and Mary, Howard University. We have a proton cancer treatment center with Emory University. I can go on and on about us, but let me tell you a little bit about this project. So it's a 130,000 square foot office building to house approximately 300 personnel of the university. And it is part of the larger grounds project. But this is a separate piece, the only piece that can be financed with tax-exempt bonds because of the educational nature of the occupancy of the building. Can I answer any questions?
It is my understanding that it is actually your company that issues the bonds.
We're a charitable organization, so we can't issue bonds. A political subdivision must issue the bonds. That's the Public Finance Authority's role, but we borrow the proceeds of the bonds. So all within the Internal Revenue Code sections as the city's own debt, but this is a subset because charitable organizations are also allowed to access tax-exempt bond financing.
Any questions for Mr. Mayor?
I think we just need to be really clear. The headlines in our local newspaper was sort of unfortunate, created an image that the city is actually going to be involved in another $80 million financing for this project. We need to be clear. There's no city dollars in this. There's no obligation of the city to repay the bonds. There's no endorsement of the project. It simply meets the requirement of the IRS code to allow the tax-exempt financing. So I'll be clear on that, I think, Mr. Chairman, and reiterate that every chance we get.
Okay.
Absolutely. The repayment of these bonds is solely upon Provident, the Grounds LLC, not a debt of the city, no obligation of the city.
And we will hold a public hearing at the council meeting next Monday, which is September the 15th. Okay?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Wait a minute.
Not for her, but for staff.
Staff, we have, not for you, for staff. Go ahead.
Ms. Latham, maybe you can answer either Mr. Tesh. You know, a lot of times our citizens think that when we do these things, as Councilmember Clark said last week, we do them haphazardly. We do not, and most of you all know that. But what I'm asking for is because this goes to helping to educate the public. This is not the first time or the only time we have done what we're doing here today. I would ask you if you can recall any agencies or community partners locally that we have done the same for over the course of time.
Yes, in 2023, we approved something exactly the same for Salem College, and we've also approved 2 different items for the Housing Authority of Winston-Salem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other speakers? I think we're covered there. Any other questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve item G4.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. And that is approved. And we will, again, our general session of the council is next week. The mayor chairs that meeting, and we will have a public hearing then. I would recommend that y'all be back, just in case, you never know. Thank you. We will now go to G5. If the city clerk will please read that one.
G5, resolution directing the application to the Local Government Commission for approval of the city's water and sewer system revenue bonds, Series 2025, requesting Local Government Commission approval of the 2025 bonds, declaring the intent of the city to reimburse itself for capital expenditures from proceeds thereof, and certain related matters.
Now, as an introduction, we are issuing these bonds. They're revenue bonds. Ms. Latham's going to tell us about them in a minute. And we essentially pledge the revenue, and these are being used by the Utilities Commission, so this would be water fees and sewer fees and landfill fees, wherever it's going. But if you will please tell us about it.
Yes, absolutely. So this resolution is the initial resolution for the bonds, which would allow staff to move forward with submitting an application to the Local Government Commission, who would have to approve this debt. This also just allows us to move forward with the other steps in the process, such as our financial advisors, our bond attorneys, and such as that. We are asking for an amount not to exceed $70 million. This would be approved as the initial resolution on the 15th, with the council adopting the actual formal bond order on October the 6th.
Okay. Who would like to explain what the Local Government Commission?
I used to be on it.
Mayor used to be one of them. Mayor, I want you to tell the audience what it is.
Well, it's a group that's appointed by the governor and the members of the General Assembly that reviews all the financing that local governments and other jurisdictions in the state to issue. The treasurer of the state of North Carolina is the staff to that and is actually the chairman of it. And so it just simply is another fail-safe to make sure that local governments are adhering to the various financing requirements. So.
Exactly. It's another check.
They do look closely at our projected revenues, and we actually are required to have a feasibility study, so that is currently underway as well, to show the LGC that we can actually support the payback of the debt.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Scipio.
Yes, I think it would be great if we could have a list of potential projects that this $70 million is to pay for.
That should be in your packet.
I was going to ask.
If it's not, we can.
Oh, it's here.
Driver?
I'm sorry, I didn't look
Can you
at it.
answer that question?
Thank you.
So
Let her come, she can answer it.
Exhibit B.
It's there. It's Exhibit B. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So yes, I think there was an exhibit in your packet, but it includes several projects. There's our collection system improvement program, the Peters Creek outfall, Tanglewood force main replacement. There's two water distribution system improvement projects, a 15th Street pump station upgrade, repairs to the lagoons at the Elledge wastewater treatment plant, repairs to our biosolids drying facility, and then modernization project at Nielsen Water Treatment Plant, and then our AMR project, which is the automated meters that we're putting in.
And the biosolids dryer facility is the facility that had the fire.
That is correct.
This is to get it fixed back up.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I had another question with that. So it seems like we'll get the funds on December the 3rd. These are a lot of projects. What's our expected time to start and complete? And when do we start paying back the $70 million?
You want to speak to that piece first?
Yes. So we would have a payment due on the bonds within 6 months, the first payment. This was part of the budget that was discussed with the commission and with council. So we do have budget for the bonds. However, we are issuing about 3 months earlier than we initially planned. So we'll need to review the budget and potentially come back to you with an adjustment. But The goal with the bonds is always to spend the money within the 3 years. We also are required by the LGC to have 70% of bids in hand when we go out to borrow funds. So some of these projects are actually already underway, and we will be reimbursing ourselves to some degree for expenditures that have already occurred. But I can let Courtney speak to if you have questions about specific projects and where they are and how long they'll take.
I have a question.
Are you finished?
I'm finished. Thank
Yes,
you.
Ms. Adams.
Ms. Latham, this project versus the project prior to what we voted on, could you explain to the public, are there any way that we are, as the mayor said, with the commission, are overstepping our abilities to fulfill our debt by issuing 2 bonds at the same time?
You're speaking to the bonds that we just closed on recently, the LOBs, or the following item that is an additional LOBs for solid waste?
The one, where was it?
The next one is also.
Or you're talking about the item that just came before us?
With the 70 million plus this 26 million.
Right, so the 70 million doesn't involve the city at all, other than just a clarification in the IRS code. As you all mentioned, there's no obligation on the city, and this wouldn't be taken into consideration at all by the LGC, since that's not city debt or city responsibility to repay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
Ms. Latham, just out of curiosity, the feasibility study that you mentioned, what firm did we select to conduct that feasibility study? I didn't see it in notes.
Raftelis.
Thank you.
Okay. Any
Need
other?
a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval.
You have a motion, Mr. Taylor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Scipio. If everyone would please vote when it comes up. That is approved. We will now move on to G6. If the clerk will please read that. Ms. Kelly, you might as well just stay there.
Item G6, resolution of the City of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, approving an amendment to an installment purchase contract with the North Carolina Municipal Leasing Corporation to finance certain facilities and capital assets, declaring the city's intent to reimburse itself for capital expenditures from proceeds thereof and related matters.
Ms. Latham, if you'll tell us about this, please.
Yes, so this is actually limited obligation bonds. So Councilmember Clark, you mentioned that the water and sewer bonds we're pledging are revenues for the utility. In this case, we're actually, the collateral is some of our city-owned buildings, such as the Public Safety Center, the ballpark, and the Jocelyn Johnson Center. However, we have a financial model where we are paying these bonds out of the solid waste fund. So we're not pledging the revenues, but we are using the solid waste revenues to pay the debt.
Okay.
It's just what the requirement is on the city, whether it's the requirement for the revenues to be a certain level or the requirement is the collateral of the buildings in this case. The North Carolina Municipal Leasing Corporation is just required by statutes to be able to issue these types of LOBs. So that is just essentially part of the city. So the city would be issuing limited obligation bonds not to exceed $26,550,000 for the solid waste improvements. There is a list of projects in your packet. This, again, is just the initial resolution to allow us to get started. This one does require a public hearing, so, and that's just a difference in the bond law where a public hearing is required for LOBs, but not for revenue bonds. But on the 15th, the initial resolution would be approved, and then there would be a public hearing on the 6th, at which time the formal approval would be, we would seek that formal approval from City Council at that time to move forward.
Thank you. Ms. Driver, could you comment? This is the Burn project, which is, I think, an interesting project, creative, I believe.
Yes.
You could just comment what it is so people be aware of it.
Yes, so there's 3 projects that are included here. It is the burn project at the landfill, at Haynes Mill Road landfill. Also a gas system expansion at Haynes, and then the expansion of Cell 6, also at Haynes. So the burn project and the Cell 6 construction are increasing the capacity at the landfill. Or they're giving us, it's already been permitted, but it gives us more capacity to fill. And then the gas system is just a part of the process where we have to manage the gas in the landfill operation. So
We capture that gas and actually make electricity out of it.
that is correct.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Not, can I get a motion on G6?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion second on G6. If everybody please vote when it comes up. And that is approved. Mr. Mayor, I will turn these over to you for the September 15th meeting, if you can steward those through for us. Anything else to bring before the group? If not, we are adjourned.
Thank you.